Hey everybody, and welcome to another sale review, and thanks so much for coming along and watching this video. So last week, or sorry, at the start of this week, was our third Monday sale. If you remember, we've started having all our auctions on a Monday to give everybody a bit more free weekend time. We were a little bit scared about that last year, but we've had three really great sales, and the one this last Monday was no exception. Really strong sale. In fact, I had one bidder describe it as a bloodbath, which I thought was quite an interesting way of putting it, and that's another bit of sort of antique dealer terminology. A bloodbath if the sale's doing really well, the prices are really strong, and the dealers are finding it hard to buy. Really bad for them obviously, but great for us and the vendors. And I actually had this YouTube comment which was actually on the morning of the sale, and it's from Glenn Hardacre, who says, "Just logged on to watch the auction. I was looking at lot 98 until I saw what it's already up to. I thought it would go for more than estimate, but not that much. Wow." So lot 98, that was this vintage live steam model of a train. Don't know if it's a bit like a Stephenson's rocket, I suppose, but maybe it's just loosely based on one of those. If you remember, we did feature a live steam engine. It was that Mammoth engine that we actually played with on the video. But anyway, I did see this object when we were doing the sale preview, but I thought we'd done the Mammoth already, so perhaps not do another live steam engine, but thought it was interesting. We'd put 30 to 50 on it. I really thought maybe up to 100 or something like that. The stovepipe, as you can see there, is detached, but overall it looks in quite nice condition. There's a lot of pre-sale interest. People wanted to know, did it still have its burner? So we disassembled it and we found that the burner was in fact still in there. So lots and lots of interest pre-sale. So let's have a look at how it went. Lot number 98 then is the 3-inch gauge live steam powered locomotive and tender. Surprise internet bid there, we're at £600, looking for 650. Gasps in the room. 650 we're looking for. So there were actually audible gasps in the room. That does happen from time to time, but quite a lot. I think quite a few people perhaps come to bid on that with that 30 to 50 estimate. If they'd not seen the internet prior, they'd have had no idea. So people were sat there waiting to bid. I say it's up to 600. Obviously it must be ripples of disappointment, and you know, as I said, it was heard in audible gasps. Bids at £600 with the internet then. Any further interest? Looks like all the action was pre-sale online at £600 we are. Any advance for 650. Last chance then at £600 with the internet. Thank you, the internet. So yeah, really good, healthy price, and one way above estimate again. But the thing I suppose I want to talk about here is the pre-bids. This is what saleroom.com call competitive bidding. Bidders out there, people that are using the site, buyers, generally if they know what it's all about, they dislike it. Competitive bidding they see as a bad thing. Auctioneers, they really like it, they see it as a good thing, and the way it works is you'll see a lot that you're interested in. If you can't bid live on saleroom.com, you can leave an auto bid, as they call it. So you're not leaving it with the auctioneer, you're leaving it with the saleroom.com, and it's a totally undisclosed amount. So you can put a really high value on there without any risk of, you know, an unscrupulous auctioneer sort of running the bid and pushing you up beyond what the thing actually made in the room. So it's a good, nice, secure way of you bidding on something. Now the flip side of it is when competitive bidding comes in. Say you've left 1,000 on something, then I come along and I leave 1,100 on the thing. You'll then get an email saying you've been outbid. So you can then log back in, leave another bid of 1,200, then I get an email, and so on and so on. And it's a way of causing competition to really drive up the price. And one dealer said to me, it's also almost like you're competing in this sort of pre-auction first, and then whoever wins then goes through to the final, to the actual auction. And they found it just a bit manipulative. But I don't know, I mean, there's nothing forcing you to leave bids. I think it's a pretty good feature, and it does give people an idea who are looking online, maybe coming to the sale. It gives them an idea of what things are going like. These in fact are all the pre-bids. I've smudged out all the names so you can't read those, but you see there was 18 bids before the sale had even started, way down there back at £18, and again and again and again, right up to 600. And the person that won it, who was actually from Czech Republic, so this thing's going all the way over there, we've actually posted that out there already. This person had some bids quite early on, so other people have bid against him, and he's had emails, so people have just kept putting those bids in, which is good. I mean, the thing made a great price. For me as an auctioneer, I didn't really do any auctioneering. Me and Jamie have talked about this before. When something happens like that, there was just that one bid, nothing else happened. So we're basically just reading out numbers, not really doing any auctioneering. But yeah, I'm glad to have been involved in it, and it was a good thing to sell. We've actually got another live steam locomotive engine coming up in the antique sale, which is in March. And this beast is an absolute mammoth. I think it's 4-inch gauge. It's probably 5 or 6 times bigger than that one sold. I don't know what the estimate is yet. I think we're probably expecting it to do around 1,000, but we'll see. That one's in March. I had another comment a couple of videos ago which I forgot to answer, and this one's from Jeff Marsh. And he asks, my question is, how do you know that the vendor is the owner of the items they bring in, and what happens if there is a dispute after the auction? I can't really think of this ever happening, which is lucky really, and if you think about it, there's definitely scope for that kind of thing, but luckily that's not happened. Only 2 things spring to mind. There's one time a couple of guys brought in lots of sort of Bezic animals, Bezic figures, Royal Dalton figures, lots of nice marked pottery and porcelain, the kind of thing we have in the downstairs cabinet. You know, lots between 50 to 100. There was probably 50 or 60 lots there, and it was all in at no reserve, so it was looking like being a really great sale. We'd done all the cataloguing, all the photography. The sale was about to go online probably in a day's time or something, and then we get a call from the police. They said there's actually been a break-in locally, and the ladies' antiques have all been stolen. This is a description of the items, and lo and behold, it matched the contents of our entire cabinet, this fantastic sale that we put together and put all this time and effort in cataloguing. The police came along with pictures of the items, and we could verify that sadly these stolen items have been entered into the sale. So I mean, it was such a hard thing to have to go through. I mean, you put in all this work and all this effort, and you thought you could have a great sale. I mean, nothing compared to these poor people that had been burgled, of course, but all these things had to be removed from the sale, and then obviously the sale was greatly lacking because we'd saved things because we knew we'd got this cabinet full. The other story that springs to mind is perhaps a little bit more in line with the question. And we once had an auction where we were called out to a farm, not that far away from the auction room actually, called out to value it. It's full of fantastic things, lovely long case clocks, bracket clocks, fine bronzes, collections of pottery and porcelain, nice furniture. It turns out this was sort of a 2-3 generation collection, going back to the very early 20th century, if not into the 19th century, where these tenant farmers had been in this farm for generations, but had been collectors and had lovely, lovely things. And it was actually the housekeeper of the farmer that inherited all the antiques, and she consigned them into the sale. Now, once the catalogue went online, we were contacted by another farmer. Now, it turns out he was a brother of the deceased farmer, and there'd been a little bit of a family argument, and they'd been estranged. The brother had gone off to start his own farm and had become very successful, and there was apparently a little bit of jealousy between the two. But anyway, the brother came, and he was you know, sort of distraught that his brother had bequeathed all those family heirlooms to his housekeepers. Quite annoyed, not with us of course, but just with the situation. But some of those clocks were his grandfather's, and of course what happened, he came along to the sale and bid on nearly the whole clearance. He did get quite a few bits, so that was great for him. He managed to rescue some of those heirlooms, and of course it was good for us because it drove up prices. So I hope that answers it, Jeff. It's very, very rare, and usually you can get to the root of it. So we looked at 3 objects in the last week's sale review. There was the vintage guitar, there was the bicorn hat, and then there was the silver salver. So first of all, we'll get into that guitar. And if you remember last week, I had a friend of mine, Laurie, the guitar enthusiast, to come on and tell us all about that guitar. And he said
230 to 350.
And I said between 1 and 2. 176 now is the Antorio custom Gibson style electric guitar in its hard carry case. Japanese import, that one. Bids online, we're at 130, 140, 150, we're at 170, 180, 190, let's see. Bids at 190, 200 we're looking for. Internet bid all this at £200, 220, 240, let's see. There's 2 determined bidders, we're at 240, 260, 280 with you, 300, let's see. Bids at £280, looking for 300, still going. 320, 340, let's see. Bids at 320, looking for 40. Any advance now? We've got 320 with the internet, if you're all done and sure. At 320 and selling. Yes, all online, 320. Looks like Laura was right. I guess I should trust the experts in future. The next lot to sell was that Royal Navy bicorn hat. Remember, it had that lovely tinsel, just the same shape as the hat from Wilkinson and Sons from the early part of the 19th century. Now before we start this one, again I want to make a feature of this auctioneer view screen. That's the screen that Jamie and I see up at the top there with the lot number. We can see we've already got internet bids at 110, so they're pre-bids as we've described earlier. But just above that big blue box there's this empty box there. Look inside there throughout this lot. You'll see a little yellow box flickering, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Keep your eye out on that. 127 then, the Royal Navy Officer's Bicorn Hat, SR Golden Sun, in its original tin case for Wilkinson and Sons. Internet straight away, we're off at 110. Looking for 120 in the advance. 120 back of the room, 130 there, 140, 150, 160. That's 2 people in the room. 170, which is much quicker than going to the internet. 180, 190, 200. At 190 then, 200 with you. Ladies bid at 190 in the room. 200, 220, 240. At 220 then, in the room still, at 220, looking for 40 in the advance. There's that yellow box again. Now what that is, that tells us, the auctioneers, that somebody at home is hovering their mouse over the bid button. So lets us know somebody's kind of thinking about it, to give you opportunity to just slow things down if you're going to end so you don't miss any bids. I think it's a good feature that salem.com have produced. It doesn't work as perfectly in practice as you would think, because more often than not the bid never materialises, and sometimes people might have put their cursor over there just by accident. But just to show you the kind of thing that we see. At 220 and away. Yeah, sold for 220 then, above estimate, above what I thought, so did better than we thought, but was in great condition, still had its tin. Now it was bought in the room by a lady, and I asked her what she was going to do with it. She actually said she bought it for children, and she's got very, very young children. And I've since heard, I don't know how true this is, but she said she's building a time capsule for the kids. She's going to fill it full of antiques, so one day they can open up this sort of time capsule full of treasures, which I think is a really nice idea, and I really hope the contents of that whole thing have skyrocketed in price, so they've got a nice little nest egg in years to come. So after those 2 objects, and quite a few more, in fact after the jewellery, I'd been on the rostrum till probably about 1 o'clock, maybe 1:30, not had anything to eat, and you're desperate for the toilet after all that selling, as you can quite imagine. So at times like that it's great to have Jamie there as auctioneer as well, so at this point we swap over. So I go and have a sandwich, go and have a sit down, have a rest, and maybe catch up on a few emails, and Jamie takes to the rostrum. So he was selling that silver salver, remember we talked about last week. I've not actually seen this footage, so we're viewing this now together for the first time.
And 364 is the George III silver salver raised on 3-step feet. I said London, 1762 by Richard Rugg.
So straight away online.
Bit of interest on the book, and internet's moved as well.
Clicking away there, look, as he's reading the description.
320, 340 now, 2 bidders at 340, looking for 360. The internet's at 340, 360, 380. It's in the room at 360, I need 380. Room bid at 360, 380 again, 400. 400 to bid, looking for 420 now. We're in the room at 400, I need 420 from the net. It's a room bid at 400 then. 400 and selling.
400 I think is a great price for that. I really like that object, but we said 200 to 300, so 4 is good. And I do like to see the room winning bids. I do feel sorry for the room sometimes, and when you're auctioneering, you've got somebody that's been bidding away, you can actually see their expression. Those people out there on the internet, they're just sort of numbers on a screen, so you've no real connection with those, but somebody's looks like they're winning it, and then the internet pops up, you have to then deliver the news, the internet's bid, you're going to have to go another increment. Sometimes you can just see their face drop, and they're so disappointed that the internet's just been, giving them a panning all afternoon. So it is nice to see room bidders winning out sometimes. So that was auction 3 of 2019. Now the sale room's already filling up with lots of great items for the next auction, so join me next Saturday, we'll look at another 3 interesting items. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel by clicking the link below, and leave a like on this video, and I'll see you next Saturday.